anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuit!
Everybody loves Hippo
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama.
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich in Broadcasting premiere podcast, TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, for the final time, for the last time, for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, our favorite show is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Brought to you by the good people at DreamWorks Animation, Mattel Creations, NE4U Animation, Netflix, NBC Universal Television Distribution. Joining me, as she has for the previous 4 seasons, is the one and only from Honeysuckle Rose Creations, Alexis Hejna. You have the power.
Sure I do. Ever told you that when you say princesses with that many extra syllables at the end, you kind of sound like Bugs Bunny?
Sure. It's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah. It's like, no wonder it's not a real carrot. It's aluminum.
That is definitely an ongoing thing that I do. All right. So
Hey, you know what? In this time in the world, we all need more Bugs Bunny in our life.
This is very
P.S.
true.
I was going to ask you if we could talk more when we get more of those new Bugs Bunny cartoons on HBO Max. If we could talk about them, please.
Yeah. Are you getting HBO Max?
Oh, I can find a way to get HBO Max. I just want to talk more about these cartoons.
We can make that happen.
Yay!
So, we first started watching this show and reviewing it because there was a big brouhaha over it leaning, pointing, being sort of, queer forward, LGBTQ proud. And we talked about, and obviously people were upset prior to the first season coming out. They're like, we don't want gay things in the children's cartoon. That was one argument. The other argument was, stop being racist. All right. So,
and yet they actually held off on most of the stuff and just went to, as I have dubbed it in previous series, the Lyra and bonboning. And this season, they say, screw it. We have girls kissing each other on the screen, and yet I have not heard a single complaint online once.
Well, I think, here's the thing. I think going into it, the people who are going to be like, not my child, not in my backyard, voice their opinions. The show went 5 seasons. They had their say. The Netflix kept the show on for as long as it was going to be on. And they were like, all right, there's really nothing more to argue about. Like, at this point, horse has left the barn. There's no reason to get all crazy about this. So,
and yet Swiftwind is the only one who doesn't end up with someone else.
Well, you never know. We never watched the shorts.
Sorry, I couldn't resist a horse pun.
He could have ended up with Bo, for all we know.
Let's wait for the fan art that shows him curled up with Rainbow Dash. Perfect.
So, the point that I was getting to was we talked about it because of the controversy, and then then it was a combination of I can't quit things in the middle, and it was actually a pretty good show. We stayed with it. It built up to season 5, where when we talked about season 4, we were like, are they going to introduce He-Man and Eternia? Are they going to, now that they've left their pocket universe, is there going to be a crossover?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. As cool as it was to see a bunch of other characters get introduced in this last season, even if they were just quick one-episode characters like Peekaboo and the Star Sister. Well, they were the Star Sisters in the 80s series. Now they're the Star Siblings in this one because they made one of them. I have this... You've noticed one of the things I like doing is I like taking a look at what they brought up in the 80s series and how they have reinvented it for this series. I like seeing the creativity and how they work with that. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As much as in the back of my head, I knew we were not going to get He-Man and Castle Grayskull in Eternia because, we got everyone. Is Kevin Smith actually still working on that series, or has
In
that
theory.
been gone? Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, yes and yes. I'm sure everything got put on hold because of COVID-19, but it hasn't been canceled either.
Yeah, those who are listening to this in the future, and sweet Jesus, you need to get a life. We are currently recording this during the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown, and at the moment, most TV shows, if they are not in post-production, have been put on hold due to not being able to get a large group of people to work together because of social distancing. So we've been hearing about a He-Man spinoff, a live-action He-Man, a He-Man movie. We've been hearing about different stuff for, God, I think since we started talking about this TV show 5 years ago.
I want to say there's like two He-Man cartoons at a minimum that have been announced since this started. One from Kevin Smith and then a whole other one.
And there was supposed to be a live-action He-Man movie because I remember them discussing he's supposed to be a teenager, but he's actually in his 20s actor from another Netflix show or Netflix original movie, whatever, who had been cast as that. But I have not heard a single thing about it since.
It was initially, it had a release date, it got pushed back, and then it completely fell off the calendar. So who knows?
Yeah, so at this moment, folks, again, if you're listening to us in the future, we have no idea what's going on with the rights to the other shows and stuff. Because at this moment, Hollywood has essentially just put down their phone and said, don't call us, we'll call you.
No, instead they're going to do Zoom videos. Which, if you haven't seen the Weird Al and comics, other comedians parody Gal Gadot's Imagine Zoom call that she did, it's pretty hilarious.
I don't get into Zoom that much. I don't have it on my phone because I don't really have a network of people I need to talk to at once besides you guys, and we're always on Facebook chatting. And even my husband doesn't use Zoom. They use another Microsoft group chat. So
yeah, apparently the Hillsborough County School District is all about the Zoom. So my wife has become, and my kids have become very proficient in it. But all right, so up to this point, they've introduced all the characters. For the most part, Season 4 dealt with introducing the Horde, Hordak, and there was switching of alliances, and there was figuring out of what Hordak wanted. He wanted to open a dimensional breach and get out of where he was, which is what they eventually accomplished, leading into Season 5, where we are introduced to Horde Prime. There's also the super weapon that is introduced, the Heart of Eternia, which, if it's used, will wipe the planet and several galaxies out of existence, as near as I can tell.
Yeah, they kind of went the way... Oh, great, my dad's calling. He's going to voicemail. They kind of went the way of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the whole planet is apparently constructed as the weapon itself.
Right. Yeah. So, where things lead off, Hordak, Catra, and Glimmer are on Horde Prime ship. The planet's been pulled out of the pocket dimension they were in. Adora has shattered the sword. And that's that. We have two of our main characters captured, and Hordak has been humiliated by Horde Prime. So when we pick things up, they're still Horde Prime has been launching raiding parties on the planet, so it's kind of a continuation of the same themes from the previous 4 seasons, just a bigger, badder, more destructive villain.
I'll go ahead and tell you, Horde Prime actually is probably one of the scariest villains I have seen in an animated TV show. He was legit terrifying. I got a lot of shades of Big Brother from the Teen Titans.
Yeah. What I liked about him and what separated him from Hordak was he wasn't all mustache twirly, and he wasn't screaming all the time. And, there's a very cute relationship that develops between Hordak and Entrapta. And it's mostly because he's such a grump, and she's autistic. So she's, just kind of...
She doesn't understand that he is mad.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. And he's just like, why are you not cowering away like everyone else? And she's going, because here's the shiny tech thingy that I want to study.
Right. So they have like a weird bond, but Horde Prime is more a cult leader. And they kind of play around with the idea of cult leader in the fact that he chips and zombifies his followers. And that's a big major thread of Season 5, is not only him taking large swaths of territory, searching for the Heart of Eternia and wanting to use it, because again, and I don't know which came first, the nihilistic idea of, I mean, I know nihilism came first, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if like everyone just kind of collectively in different parts of Hollywood had the same Thanos idea, or Thanos had an idea and everyone just fucking like, that's a good one, run with it. But I feel like we keep seeing these villains in various fantasy and sci-fi with this idea of like, we must destroy the universe in order to make it better. All right. So
yeah, Horde Prime's idea, he says that we're going to have total peace, but the way he says we're going to have total peace is because there's not going to be anyone around to bitch.
Right.
And
it
is really terrifying when they go to the one planet that he had already destroyed. He, unlike Hordak, who again is mustache twirly, but he's mustache twirly because he is trying to find a separate identity from Horde Prime because he's a clone.
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to be a clone. I don't want to be like you. I want to be evil the way I can be evil. Which really, when you go back and actually watch his episodes, puts a lot in perspective and I think gives some really great depth to the character.
Yeah, no, he was overcompensating for the fact that he was Borg. And, just coin a phrase. He's just part of the collective. But he wanted to stand out, and so I think when you think back about Hordak in the previous 4 seasons, there's a sense of urgency around that gives to him yelling and screaming constantly. This need to prove himself to Horde Prime and separate himself from the rest of the collective, and so he gets bitchy when things don't go his way. And then the other part of it, the not having a need for others and having the single-minded focus and all of that. The funny thing about this season is actually how much Hordak kind of redeems himself. He has a kind of a Darth Vader moment at the end, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's actually going down as one of my favorite double take moments. That was really good writing.
Yeah, that was super good. My other favorite character in this season was Wrong Hordak.
Oh my god. I think one of the things I love so much about it is that Horde Prime, Hordak, and all the clones all have the same voice actor. But he really is able to breathe different characters into each one of these. You never for once think, oh, it's just, it's the same guy's voice. You never think, oh, that's just Horde Prime's voice with a different accent or whatever. He really breathes life into these other versions, and it's very impressive. Yeah,
Horde Prime, the way he voices him, he sounds more like slimy drug lord than he does, evil, like ultimate evil entity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get Satan from Horde Prime. I get like slimy drug lord.
Yeah.
I think, and this is a very old reference, but like the main villain in Shadows of the Empire, the expanded universe novel, I get kind of that feeling from him.
Okay, I can see that.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I do love Ron Hordak when he's having his existential crisis.
Hordak is never wrong, or Horde Prime is never wrong, but he's wrong here, and you could just see the beach ball forming.
No, I love it. I love how he keeps wailing and moaning in the back. And Traft is trying to break a code, and she's like, and we got someone in the back here who won't shut up. It was great.
We're kind of all over the road here, but since we mentioned her a few times now, I really loved Entrapped in this season. Because, like, after 4 seasons, there's some animosity with the other princesses who have been fighting the Horde, and, you know, obviously... I mean, why wouldn't they have issues with Catra? But, like, they've got some lingering resentment toward Entrapta, too. And why wouldn't they? She, without realizing the the issue of it all, just threw in with the Horde. And we've talked about in previous shows how she's so driven to explore technology and invent and experiment that she didn't see throwing in with the Horde. She threw in with the superior technology.
She wasn't doing this to be... I don't even... In fact, if you actually go back and watch, I think it's the 3rd season, she does kind of start to put 2 and 2 together and realize that if she continues to do what Hordak wants, then the princesses are going to be in trouble. She's not evil. But
right.
She is so distracted by the shiny toys.
Right. She is singularly focused. That's why I said, like, she definitely comes across the spectrum-y. And whether they purposely wrote her that way or they just sort of fell into it after, you know, coming up with the gag of she's obsessed with tech. She definitely... And this season kind of explores that a little bit, where she realizes she's done the wrong thing, but she's trying to make up for it. And at one point she says, and I really like this, I'm probably going to mess up the quote, but something along the lines of, I just wanted to fix this because if I did, then you'd like me.
Yeah, we get really good scenes between her and the other princesses, specifically Mermista, who has now been kind of thrust into the leadership role for a few episodes until she unfortunately gets chipped.
Oh, my daughter. I have to talk about 2 things with my daughter. This is one of them. Like, Mermista No was being shouted around my house for a while. Because that's her like favorite characters in this whole show. She loves the shit out of Mermista.
What did you think of Mermista's film noir style with the shorter hair and the pinstripe suit?
she was not into it. She liked Mermista in the pants jumpsuit thing, and she likes her powers. She's got a thing for mermaids, and so I think there's the connection. I will say, when everyone pairs up at the end, we will spend some time talking about this, but, you know, her and, what's his face, the pirate? Seahawk. When her and Seahawk finally, do away with their sexual tension and kiss, my daughter was like, "Blop!" she first of all, my daughter is not a fan of seeing any kind of affection. Man, woman, 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 man, 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 dog, nothing. She's just not into it. She doesn't want to see it. Anytime people are kissing, she's like, why does this have to be on the show that I'm watching? She's a good little 9-year-old girl. High morals. And so she sees Mermista kissing, what was his name again? Seahawk. And she's like, blech. It's like, why? It's so funny because her reaction was basically like, you were so much cooler before that. Don't kiss that man. That dork.
I do love the whole film noir scene where they go to the underwater grotto club, and it basically turns out that everyone there hates Seahawk, and he did not think this through. That they were going.
It's a great little scene.
Yeah, where it's just it kind of reminds me of that one line from Tangled when Rapunzel and oh God, I can't even remember the dude's name. They're running away, and he's like, just for a moment, just assume that everyone here doesn't like me.
It was a fun episode. I thought the whole season was well done. Let me go ahead and say that. I don't have really any complaints about this. So we're just going to touch on some different things. But, just going back to Mermista for a second. Because for a while, Bo and Adora kind of fuck off and go in search of Catra and Glimmer. Mermista's kind of in charge of the princesses. And she's a badass this season. But we were talking about, the animosity and the resentment, and Mermista's like, you threw in with the enemy and you turned your back on us, and she's like struggling with like, I didn't turn my back on anyone. I embraced the thing I would have embraced no matter where it was. But she has enough wherewithal to feel guilty about it after everything that's happened, and then tries to fix it. So when she says the bit about, I wanted to fix the thing because then I think you'd like me, the show created a genuine moment of sadness for me.
Definitely. This is I was going to say that Entrapta, I think, has some of the most amazing character development, but honestly, this whole show, every character on the show has amazing character development. For just 5 seasons, we have seen just so many of these characters go from point A to point B, and it all feels natural, and it's incredible writing, and I love it.
I mean, look at, like, Perfuma, who, I mean, I think it was the last season or the season before where she really got to use her powers, and she realized, that she was basically Swamp Thing, and how powerful the Swamp Thing magic is. And until that point, she hadn't really. Sorry, she hadn't really like gone all out with her powers, and she didn't believe. Like, she gained confidence over 5 seasons.
And I think part of that goes back to, again, the 80s series. Perfuma in the 80s series wasn't really a fighter. She just showed up and made things pretty.
Right. And again, when you have Swamp Thing powers, you are nigh invulnerable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think part of it was the showrunners realizing that they had a chance to take a character who, for all intents and purposes, was pretty useless in the 80s series and thinking, well, how can we actually develop her when, going off of it, she didn't do anything besides make pretty flowers?
Well, what's funny about that is, like, the showrunners realized it, but they wrote that into the character as well, where she feels like, I can only, like, do so much with my powers. My powers are more for aesthetic purposes. I'm not a warrior. And then it's just when they're in the desert with the bounty hunters, Gina Davis's character is where I think she's convinced that, like, you have this immense, like, her and Mermista have incredible strength and power if they would just cut loose and use it. And Mermista does a pretty good job of that throughout. Like, her arc is, like, assuming leadership of this group while Adara's gone, but Perfuma really, like, steps up. And there's somebody who, like, she's defending through this whole season. You have to excuse me, I'm kind of forgetting some of the details, but there's somebody who, like, the whole season, she's like, now, let's not jump all over this person.
Yeah, Perfuma is the epitome of friendship is magic.
Oh, that's right, it's fucking Scorponok. Whatever her name is.
Scorpia.
That's the one.
Let's not blend the genres here.
Oh, we're going to blend genres, all right.
But yeah, we have scenes. Well, Natosa, I never remember how you put the accent on the O. Points out to Perfuma in one episode. She says, "Your weakness is obvious. You are terrified of your losing control of your powers and hurting people." And we see a lot of that because Perfuma, even though she has the Swamp Thing powers, she still doesn't really want to use them. Right. When they're fighting Scorpia, she is trying so hard to reach through to her when she could just make a giant tree and have it fall on her, squish goes Scorpia. But she won't do it.
Or have a vine just strangle her to death.
Pretty much. And they're all calling out, it's like, it's not her, she's brainwashed, do it. And she will not give up on her. And a lot of that we see, again, in the Enchanted Grotto scene, where Scorpia has to be the one to come out of her shell and finally accept the fact that she is a value. She's the muscle, but she's capable and she's a strong person.
What's great about season 5 is, and I'm going to say this again when we finally get to Adora and Catra's kiss, but season 5 really pays off. Like, why I think it's probably the best season of the show. It paid off so many of the preceding, like points and bits of the preceding season. So like you had 2 or 3 seasons there of Catra just cutting Scorpia down. You know, Scorpia trying to attach herself to Catra because she felt like an outcast. You know, there she is with, you know, fucking lobster claws as hands, and, you know, she's not as dainty, you know, or pretty as the other princesses, and she feels that. She's self-conscious. And so there was Catra when there was nobody else. And Catra has been single-mindedly focusing on Adora, and so for 2 or 3 seasons there, all she did was cut Scorpia down. You know, I mean, it was an abusive relationship, to say the least. Not physically, but definitely emotionally. And then Scorpia finally said, enough with this. At the very least, I don't need to be treated this way by you or anybody else. And then this season, she really finds her spine. She finds her inner strength. And then she becomes a killer electric zombie.
Absolutely. I mean, Scorpia has always been an interesting character because she was a part of the Horde, but she was not a part of the Horde because she was evil. She and her family essentially got roped into the Horde because of where they lived.
Yeah.
You know, she's just like, yeah. I mean, it's essentially like being in the Civil War, and it's like, well, I was born in Mississippi. Guess I'm fighting for the Confederacy.
Right. What's your opinion on slavery? I live in Mississippi. I don't know what you want from me.
Exactly. And I always like that, again, especially since in the 80s, Scorpia was just a thug with this annoyingly stereotypical tough one. This is what Scorpia sounded like in the 80s. I'll get that. That was what she sounded like. It was so annoying.
She sounded like Hulk Hogan.
I sounded like Hulk Hogan there?
You kind of did 80s wrestler there. Well, let me tell you something, brother. I'm gonna sting you with my electric scorpion fucking pincers.
I hang out with you guys way too much.
Yeah, so she had a really... See, here's the problem. Her and Mermista had some really great character growth, and then it got fucking its head chopped off by them getting chipped. And there was something else I've seen within the past couple of years where, like, by the end of it, everyone was a zombie. I know, like, Family Guy did a gimmick about that where everyone in the cast turned into Robin Williams. And, of course, that was a nightmare.
Thank God. That was one of their anthology episodes, so it was only about 10 minutes long.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and we got to talk about Natasha and Spinnerella.
Again, we gone from Lyra and bonbonning to just saying screw it.
You said that before, and that's I was telling somebody else about this today. Like, for 4 seasons, they were like, we're not going to go too far. Got to point in a direction, kind of wink at things, being very queer friendly. And then season 5, we're like, fuck it, hot lesbian action. Like, they just did not care anymore. Like, we're going
hot
off
lesbian TVY7 action.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, all you elementary school kids, do you like girls kissing? So do we. Woof.
Yeah, I mentioned this on the show before. Lyra and bonbonning. Wow, how do so many of the conversations said I will go back to My Little Pony? Oh, Lyra and Bonbon were 2 characters on the show, 2 female characters who were always seen together, and they had all these episodes where they're like, and she's my best friend, and they were always together. But the shipping was obvious. It was so blatantly obvious, but Hasbro would not admit it. So the joke was that if it's Lyra and bonbonning, it's obvious they're in a relationship, but somebody doesn't want to piss off 1 million moms, so they're not going to admit it.
Yeah, and in season 5, they had no more fucks to give.
Well, ironically, in the final season of My Little Pony, we actually get Lyra and Bonbon marrying.
Really?
Yeah, in fact, there's a really cute moment in the background where you see they propose to one another.
Wait, what? When was this?
Season 9.
Okay, what year?
This last year, 2019.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, in the 80s, like, had a gay pony marriage?
No. In the most recent series that just ended, no. In the last season, you get in the background, you see them proposing to one another, And when you have, in the very last episode, when the main character is looking through a newspaper, you see a photo of the two of them both wearing wedding veils. But so it's obvious they got married.
Okay.
So.
Let me say this, and I was talking to a friend of mine at work about this today, and I think I brought this up when we discussed season 1. I am of the opinion that if it suits the story, there's no reason why you can't put homosexuality in your children's cartoon. I really don't think it matters. I think as long as that's the story, as long as you're telling that story, and if you as a parent, because here's the thing, like my kid watched all 5 seasons with me, so however old she was when
yeah,
my daughter, who's 9 years old now, and this started in looks like November 13th of 2018, so about 2 years now, ish. And this is not the first time she has seen 2 women together or 2 men together or anything else like that. And when it came up and she had questions, I talked to her about it, and she was like, okay. And like every other child on Earth would react, she was like, when's lunch?
Pretty much like, oh, they're in a relationship? Okay.
Right. You know, It was kind of like, ugh, I don't want to watch them kiss. That was, and she said that about everybody. She said it when the character kissed in Scoob. She said it when she watched something else we were watching recently. She was just not into it, which is fine. My point is that like you put your prejudices on your kids, and if you're not into it, then they probably won't be into it either. But if you're willing to be open and you're willing to talk honestly with your kids, for the 3 minutes that conversation's going to take place, you'll be fine. You really will. And and again, I thought they did a really good job with this show, and I thought it had its place in this show, and I don't think it affected my child in any way, shape, or form other than an opportunity for her and her dad to watch something together. Because there's not a lot of things. I can't sit and watch Bunked with her. I don't know if you know what Bunked is, but Bunked is the spin-off series from Jessie. That was the live-action show on Disney featuring the girl from Insatiable. You know, she loves the fuck out of Bunked. I'm not going to watch that. It's trash. But, there's like so many things that like that she watches and I watch and we don't watch together. It was nice to have something that we could both enjoy. That was far more important to me than the any kind of homosexuality that was in the show. So, having said that, they had alluded to a relationship between 2 women characters, Spinnerella and Natasha, and they full-on embraced it in season 5. And it's funny because they were kind of marginalized characters for the first 4 seasons, and then a lot of this season dealt with the 2 of them.
Yeah, I really like that we actually get to see them take the stage as main characters now. You have Natasha, who becomes a core member of the Rebels, and you have Spinnerella, who, for lack of better terms, is kind of Horde Prime's go-to contact for his chipped slaves on Etheria.
Yeah, she becomes kind of like the lead thug bad guy for this. Mm-hmm. She kind of takes on the role of Catra for the previous 4 seasons, where she was basically the general on the ground. But without any kind of a personality, because she's a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a lot of really good stuff there. You have Natasha trying to like break through the brainwashing and all of that. Like they made the chips weren't just a plot device. They really did some stuff with them to where they had to figure out how to get the chips off of people, and they were trying to get through to them, and there was a real there's a scene where Spinnerella is just kicking all kinds of ass. And there's a sense of tension, like somebody might buy the fucking farm on this show. Because it's season 5, nobody cares anymore. Mm-hmm. Kill off the whole cast if you want. So I, for 2 characters I did not give a shit about the previous 4 seasons, I really enjoyed what they did with Natasha and Spinnerella. And I thought what they gave them as a relationship was pretty strong.
I did kind of like that they actually used the term of calling each other my wife.
Yeah.
Just, like, cut through the bullshit. I really like that.
Yes. I haven't looked.
Side note, actually, you okay?
Yep.
Okay. Side note, props to whoever was in charge of animating the animated opener for the series, because this changed so many times in this series, in the
depending
season.
on who was not a bad guy at the time.
Yeah, I love that it even gets to when you have the final main character's pose, whoever has been chipped has been removed. Mm-hmm. And you get updates. You start seeing Ron Hordak in the background with that goofy smile and holding a wrench. just got this face that says, "I'm helping." I love that.
Yeah, my daughter actually was the one that picked up on that. The other thing I noticed is that when Adora and Catra got back together again, and they would have that clash with the swords, they would smile and back off each other.
They even changed it when Catra got her hair cut after getting chipped.
Yes.
Yeah, the little details like that are very impressive. They could have just as easily had the same animated opener for the entire season, and I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. But changing it around like that was really nice. So
have you heard anything about Season 5 as far as critical reception? Because I don't see anything in the wiki. So Season 4 has 100% approval. Season 3 had 100% approval. The show got better and better, seemingly, as time goes on, and I would agree with that. But I am curious to see if anyone went up in arms about Season 5.
Well, let's take a look here, actually. I haven't done a lot of searching. I've mostly been doing searching on Scoob and how I'm 90% certain that buxom female cop is going to be Penelope Pitstop in a future movie.
While you're talking about that, so we've talked about most of the princess characters. There's not a lot to say about the one Eskimo girl. She's fine. She's fun in this. She's a little badass.
Yeah, I say Frosta probably has the least amount of character growth in the entire series, and she's not given zero character growth. We do get a little bit of her with King Micah and how she's trying to get people to understand that even though she is the youngest and she is the smallest, she leads her own kingdom. She's just as strong, just as powerful, and she doesn't like people looking at her like she's little.
Yeah.
But you know what? Not every character could be a main star in this. Not every character was going to get 100% character growth. And unfortunately, Frosta is the one that got pushed to the wayside because we simply ran out of time.
Yeah, well, listen, this is one of those... if you watch a lot of cable drama with an ensemble cast, by the end of it, so many... even something like The Big Bang Theory, by the end of that, they weren't doing as much with... especially Leonard. They had to spread out people's stories to the other cast members, and they had added two other girls to the main cast. So that's a lot of times what ends up happening. I know with The Wire, everyone can mark their spot on the bingo card now. By definitely season 4, McNulty got minimized, and a lot of it was spent with the 4 new middle school characters. And there was a lot of focus on the new gang in town and other characters, and a show that had spent the first 3 seasons kind of focusing on McNulty and his tumultuous relationship with the Baltimore PD. They had spread to other characters, and then by season 5, he was the focus again, but they still had a lot of stories dealing with all these other characters, and that's kind of what happens with She-Ra here. She-Ra and The Wire, really the same show. Just kidding. Nothing, huh?
It's you making Wire jokes. I've learned just to shut up and be quiet and just kind of sit here. It's just let him get it all out.
Thank you. I can feel your eyes rolling. Anyway, let's talk about Shadow Weaver, played by the great Lorraine Toussaint.
I'm just going to say this right now and get it out of the way. Her removing her mask in her final moment, I actually thrusted my fist up. I was like, yes! Oh my god, that was so cool.
She's another one who has a complicated relationship with the cast. And as a viewer, you're kind of left wondering what the other goal is. And I love that when, like Catra, like, Adora is too trusting, and Adora has definitely got, like, martyr complex. Like, she's so quick.
But she's also a bit too much of an optimist. With everything she's gone through, I think she's really trying. Well, I have to start putting this in past terms because the show is now over. But I think she was really trying to see the best in everyone. Shadow Weaver, especially, regardless of all the ways Shadow Weaver had lied to her and tried to corrupt her, she still pretty much raised her. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very hard for her to just turn that off and say, nope, not trusting you, you're done, bye. I don't think she can do it. Similar to the way she was unable to move past Catra. It's very hard to take something that has been that part of your life for as many years as it has and just completely cut it out.
What I was getting to was how, she's ousted from the Horde, and then she uses and abuses Catra. And so now she has a relationship with a couple of different characters, and you see where she's definitely power obsessed, and she's definitely dubious, but she's not really looking to harm people at this point. And so what I was getting to was how Adora is very quick to be like, yeah, whatever needs to be done, I'll do it. Even if it kills me, I don't care. And then Catra's like, what the fuck? Wait, what are you doing? And she's the one who calls out Shadow Weaver. Like, the great thing about Adora and Catra being together is how well they complement one another. Because where Adora is naive at times, Catra is, like, super cynical. But she's also the one that's, like, calls bullshit on things and sees through the nonsense. So she sees through Shadow Weaver almost immediately. Granted, there wasn't a great base of trust there to begin with, but she's...
I think she's kind of a polar opposite to Adora in that way. Adora is over-trusting because she wants to see the good. Catra is under-trusting because she can't get past the bad.
Yeah. All right, I wanted to spend the second half of the show talking about Adora and Catra because I thought that was important, especially given how this whole thing ends. So before we do that, we're kind of going to do, like, anything left unsaid, anyone you wanted to talk about now. And then let's dig into this.
Again, I love that we get so many characters brought in, even if they were just for one episode. I love seeing how they incorporate people from the 1980 series into this. We get Peekaboo. We get the Star siblings. We get frickin' Mealog, who they completely changed. I mean, Mila, I think, basically got the Cassandra Cain treatment.
Hey, were you able to find anything, by the way?
Mostly just positive stuff from a couple of reviews online, but not a lot. I don't... there's also a ton of YouTube reviews, but I'm not going to
no, that's
play them, obviously, while we're recording.
That's also a hive of scum and villainy.
Yes, it is. But, I mean, okay... Peekaboo was actually not one of my favorite characters from the 80s series, but the one that I always remembered the most. And I don't know why, because she wasn't that useful. And yes, Peekaboo in the 80s series was a woman who was essentially known for having blue hair and a peacock's tail.
Okay.
That was pretty much it. And I don't know why, I always remembered her, and she had the far side gift, and seeing them change that into a prince with the blue skin, and oh my god, how great was it seeing Double Trouble come back?
Yeah, nice little redemptive moment for Double Trouble.
Double Trouble, I think, was, looking back on it, I really love Double Trouble. I don't think I gave them enough credit when they first appeared, but seeing them come back and just realizing they are not truly addicted to good or evil. They just want to have fun with their abilities. Again, very similar to Entrapta, that there is, you look and it's like, well, they're not really trying to be evil. They're just doing what they love. And clearly Double Trouble fell in with the Horde because they were letting them use their powers to the fullest extent with creating the new character like Flutterina. So I loved seeing that. It was kind of cool seeing the Star siblings, although I'm not going to lie, I am not a huge fan of their redesigns. I don't care that they made one a boy, so it was the Star siblings and not the Star sisters. But I thought this show clearly borrows from the same animation style as previous shows like Ben 10 and Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Star siblings looked like they had been cut straight out of Steven Universe with a much more Cal art style, and it was just kind of unsettling. They just really didn't look like they belonged there, and it kind of bugged me.
Actually, before we move on to Sheer and Katra, got to talk about Glimmer. So
Okay.
Season 4 was Glimmer's season. Really a lot of time spent on her. I didn't think they gave a tremendous amount to her. The only thing that... And I need to know what you think about this, because I was kind of taken aback that her and Bo were going to be a thing.
Yeah, that did kind of come out of nowhere. Glimmer did get put aside for season 4 a little bit, but she still had some great development. The fact that season 4, we saw her going from this rebel leader to becoming the queen. And
right,
it
that's
was
what I'm saying. Like, season 4 was like her breakout season, and then she kind of gets marginalized again in season 5.
Yeah. And part of that is just from the episodes with her getting, kidnapped by Horde Prime. But I think I see what you're kind of going with this, because season 4, we saw a lot of development with Glimmer coming into her own identity and becoming a queen. We discussed this in our last podcast, when we discussed her development, plug, that she had to accept the fact that she was not going to be the rebel princess anymore. She couldn't constantly go out on adventures. She couldn't be reckless. She was now in charge of Etheria, and she had to be respectful, and she had to be responsible, and she had to start acting more like what her mother had always wanted out of her. Season 5, that is right out the window. I don't think we have a single episode where Glimmer actually acts like a queen.
No. It's very much like, I'm a prisoner, I'm tagging along for the ride in the rescue, and then once they get back to Etheria, it's a lot of, we got to get the failsafe, we got to disrupt the hive mind, we got to, we got to deal with all these chipped people. I didn't get she was there, and then, like I said, I saw her there, but I didn't see her necessarily bonding with Bo. And I thought Bo kind of, Bo's always been a strong character. I have to say, there's always the complaint with male characters in female-driven shows that they always make the guy either a dummy or a bastard. And and Bo has these kind of silly moments. He's like, oh, best friend squad. They always kind of make him almost like a caricature of a gay best friend. But I would say for the most part he's handled really, really well. And I love the episodes that dealt with him going home. That's where you really started to see some character depth out of him. And then this season, they didn't focus nearly as much on Bo, but I thought he continued to be a strong character. And then characters just start pairing up. So Mermista and Sea-Rat are together, and he says he loves Mermista. I don't know why she loves him back. I didn't get the connection to them two at all.
Yeah, every time I watch those two, I get the opinion of, I went on a date with you once, and I am regretting it every single day of my life.
Well, you didn't watch the Harley Quinn show, but Dave Wright and I talked about this, where sometimes you'll have a guy, a guy who's a kind of an earnest dummy, and that earnest dummy, despite all the inclinations to turn away, turns on some girl, and in this case, it was Kite Man and Poison Ivy, believe it or not. And if that doesn't entice you to watch the show, I don't know what does. Oh, allegedly, by the way, spoilers for season 2, fucking Poison Ivy and Harley kiss.
Oh, I've already seen that post 1,000 times. I have nothing against the queer community. I think that's awesome that they're developing that character. I just need less Harley Quinn in my life.
So it's not the kissing that bothers you, it's the Harley Quinn? in the Harley Quinn show.
You cannot work as a Comic-Con vendor and not get sick to death of Harley Quinn.
Fair enough. So anyway, so you have you have Poison Ivy, who, despite herself, ends up falling in love with Kite Man, who's again an earnest dummy, and so I guess that's kind of the problem with Mermista and Sea Dog is.
You're just going to pick every single animal under the planet before you actually get back to the correct one, aren't you?
Yeah, so Mermista and Seawolf, they never really set that up well. Like, my one little quibble with the show is they paired them off together, and it seems like almost like Mermista's just way too good for him. Like, I didn't get that with Poison Ivy and Kite Man. The way they did that. And the way that she explains it, I'm like, okay, I see the attraction here. This one, it just felt like it's the end. It's the Return of the Jedi thing. Everyone has to hug and kiss. Fuck it, Mermista and Sea Devil are a thing, and it comes out of left field.
I mean, I guess it makes a little bit of sense that a sea pirate and the princess who controls the seas would be paired off together.
Not if it doesn't. If it's not in the narrative.
I'm not saying it's in the narrative. I'm just saying if you're going to go completely carte blanche with the obvious, then yeah, you can get away with that. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I have no qualms with Corgi loving Mermista. Hey, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it better. I have no qualms with him loving her and being obsessed with her. I mean, again, you get the impression that these two probably dated in the past, and he's never gotten over it.
Mm-hmm. But I have the same quibble with and that's where I started with this, with Glimmer and Bo, to where, again, Bo always seemed like Glimmer's gay best friend, and I'm not saying he was gay. They never really get into it. He doesn't date on the show, so who the fuck knows?
Well, he'd go on one date in season 1 with Perfuma, but that was because he needed a date to the Princess Ball.
Okay, so there's a detail I didn't even remember. But my point is, like, when in this show were Glimmer and Bo anything but, like, friends?
Absolutely. I mean, I never really got a sense of Bo's sexuality on the show. He's pretty much the only character that we didn't. You know, the giant heart on his chest. Oh my god, by the way, what the hell was up with those spacesuits showing off the holes where their costumes were? What was that?
They had to have their emblem showing.
That wasn't their emblem. There was a hole in Bo's spacesuit where his abs are.
Well, I mean...
There was a hole in Entrapta's on her chest.
And what a chest it is, and what abs those are. I mean, you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah, and apparently what they wanted was a spacesuit with cat ears because, yeah, I'm going to agree with Bo on this. Catra looked freaking adorable in that helmet.
See? Abs, tits, and cat ears. America.
Well, anime convention.
That too. By the way, the stuff they do with Entrapta's hair continued to amuse the shit out of me.
I want prehensile pigtails like that. Those are so cool.
Anyway. Yeah, I just felt like the stuff with Glimmer and Bo came out of fucking nowhere. It was almost like they didn't know what to do with the characters, and it's Return of the Jedi, and everyone's hugging and kissing, and so, fuck it, Glimmer and Bo are a thing.
I'll give you that. It did. I mean, let me put it this way. We have that brief scene where Adora gets what looks like a little flash of the future, where we see her much older, and we see her and Glimmer and Bo and Catra all in the castle together, and it's clear that Bo and Glimmer are an item. I have no qualms about imagining these two growing closer and developing a relationship over time.
Mm-hmm.
But to suddenly say, I love you at the end of this season, like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting you two to declare your love for each other for another couple of years.
Yeah. You know who I would have actually bought? Bo and... obviously, they couldn't do this because they were going in an entirely other direction. But if Bo was going to get with anybody on that show, I would have said it was Adora. Especially with the amount of time they spent together between Season 4 and Season 5.
Yep. But Adora don't swing like that.
No, she don't. All right. Are you ready?
Like I said, screw the Lyra and bonboning. We got kissing.
Well, before we get to the kissing, I thought, let's talk about Adora first. I thought the She-Ra spirit was in you all along, and you never needed the sword. The ring is Bupkis Lone Star.
Oh my god, I knew. It's like of all of the parodies that I knew you were going to go with, I knew it would be that one.
Yep. Let's go with Spaceballs.
I do love the first episode where she is unable to accept the fact that she's not She-Ra and she keeps running into danger.
Yes,
it's like, okay.
head first into open fire.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, okay, you need to stop. Again, as you put it, Adora has a serious martyr complex. She really has this hard time accepting that she's gotten so used to being She-Ra and being the answer to the problem. She's accepted it's her destiny. And to now essentially be told, nope, you're just an average fighter, I don't think she can let go of it.
No. Well, power can be an addiction. And, for the longest time, she was an invulnerable 6-foot Amazon woman. That's a hard thing to give up. And, when the war's still going, the fight's still going on, but you no longer have that, you're going to... I mean, even, like take it away from fighting and everything else. Just think about what as you get older. Like, excuse me. I don't know if you were ever an athlete, but let's just keep going. So 10 years ago...
How many years have you known me, Mark?
So 10 years ago, I started running to lose weight, and I got to the point where I was doing mud runs, 5Ks. I did a half marathon, and I finished a Tough Mudder, which is a half marathon with obstacles.
Okay.
And never mind getting sick in 2017. In between 2011 and 2016, as I got older and I wasn't running as much, when I would try to get back to it, it got harder to do. And I think anyone will tell you, as you get older, what your ability to recover, your ability to be as physically active diminishes over time. And so, I thought about that with Adora, to where, she had this youthful power, and it was taken from her, but you still think you can do it. It's like walking into the gym. It's like, I used to be able to bench X, and then you go away for a while, you come back in, you try doing it again, and then you wonder why you can't. But in your mind, you still can.
Take a look at how many, I followed professional wrestling for years. Take a look at how many professional wrestlers continue to throw themselves off of the ladders in matches and stuff. And it's like, whoa, okay, you are, getting close to 40. You are not going to be able to land like that.
Yeah, The Undertaker was talking about in the documentary they've just done on him about how he would work out for his one appearance at WrestleMania, and then he'd do his appearance, then get surgery on whatever nagging injury, whatever new injury was caused, and then by the time he had recovered from the surgery, it would be time to start getting in training for WrestleMania again. And there was like a 4-year...
brain, repeat.
Yeah. And and there was like a 4-year stretch where that was the pattern for a while. And so like you said, I'll just go with The Undertaker again. You look at what he was able to do in the 90s, and then he tries to do it in the 2010s, and your body's just not there. Like, your mind might be. Like, there are times now, as sick as I am, where I forget that I'm sick and can barely get from one place to another, but my brain wants me to go out and run. And so I think about that with Adora, about her brain was like, you are still a 6-foot-tall, invulnerable Amazon. And her body is like, no, you ain't.
There's also, I think, the part that she feels a lot of responsibility for the crew. She was formerly the leader. She was, the go-to person for all the fights. I don't think she can accept the fact that it wasn't her anymore. I think that she wanted to continue to prove that she could still be the leader.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. I think she kind of blamed herself for losing Glimmer. I think, she blamed herself for the sword being destroyed. I think there was a lot of, it's me, it's all my fault. Adora, there's a lot of great qualities about Adora, but she can also be a tad self-centered. And, we tend to think of self-centered as, this, giant negative, but it's more like a child's self-centeredness, if parents are fighting and the child is present, the child thinks it's their fault. And it's not. It's whatever was going on with the parents. But the child doesn't know that. The child just thinks, I did this. It's my fault. They're obviously fighting because of me. And that's kind of where Dora ends up going a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Side note, what did you think of the She-Ra redesign for the final season?
Yeah, like Supergirl, I think in the 80s, girls, the marketing is girls are nice to look at, so put them in short skirts and skimpy tops because, whoever it is, if you're selling it to girls, and I'm not saying this Mark Radulich, I'm saying this is marketing in the 80s, okay? Before everyone starts, for you or anyone else, they're like, you sexist guy, you. But I think if you're marketing in the 80s, it's girls, this is what you should try to look like. For boys, isn't she hotsy-totsy? She's in a miniskirt and a tank top.
You want to have some real fun? Do yourself a favor and Google the old She-Ra toy commercials from the 80s and early 90s.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Pretty much exactly what you just spelled out is... It's like She-Ra in the commercials is not the powerful princess. She-Ra is the beautiful woman who flies on a Pegasus. Well, actually, I think Swiftwood technically counts as an alicorn, so...
I believe he actually makes that distinction in the show.
I can't even remember that anymore.
And Traptor calls him, like winged horse or something. I can't... She has some really funny,
Bird horse.
Bird horse. He's like, okay, bird horse. He's like, I'm an alic... Oh, forget it.
Yeah, I don't think he actually gets to alicorn. I think he's just like, screw it.
Yeah.
No, I do love Swiftwind. He is so much fun. I love that they made him so freaking sarcastic.
But yes, I think for the longest time, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, She-Ra, anything that had even a remote market for boys, and maybe even some girls, because as I think about Strawberry Shortcake, leggings and a miniskirt. Rainbow Bright, leggings and a miniskirt. This goes on. Girls don't wear pants. Pants are a sign of liberation. Pants are a sign of equality. Pants stand for something. And we must keep the girls in the second tier, where they belong, because we do not want to upset, the order of the day, which is men on top, girls on the bottom. And that was 40 fucking years ago. It's 2020, and Supergirl's got pants, Wonder Woman's got pants. Why can't She-Ra have pants? I thought she looked fine.
There's a picture I found on here not too long ago. I'm Googling, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, here it is. Actually, it's the characters in their 80s designs. Hang on, I'm going to send this to you.
I was just like the men in girls' 80s clothes.
No, hang on a second. Where's my...
Well, let me bring up Facebook then.
You got it?
All things are possible through Christ. Yep, got it.
Okay, left to right. That's Glimmer, Angela, Castaspella, She-Ra, Frosta, and Catra.
Yeah, they all look like Barbie dolls.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I would say the modern show does a better job of, one, differentiating. And two, I don't want to show that to my kid.
I just love the way they got Catra dressed. It's like, how does she frickin' bend over?
Moving on. Nothing I say will be good here. I like the power was in you all along thing with her channeling the power of She-Ra and not just swinging a sword and making it happen. So I liked all that. Her internal struggle with I actually like the fact that she was like, yeah, Mister, you're in charge. I'm gonna go into space and go save my friends.
I do love the whole, it's like, if you help us, if you get this done, we'll let you go into space. The line from Mermista to Entrapta.
No, it's a great line. I just didn't know if you had any more than that. Yeah, that's all. I thought the initial rescue stuff was pretty good.
Yeah, what was the other line Bo said? It's like, if you get us out of here, we'll let you tinker with the ship all you want.
Right. Yes, easily manipulated Entrapta. All you have to do is dangle that mechanical carrot in front of her. So, anything else about Adora this season?
No, I think we've covered up the majority of it. Honestly, I think the only thing I found really negative about the series, and it's a minor thing, I don't like how the characters got shipped for essentially off screen.
Really, I thought like the presentation of it gave it kind of a slight horror feel. There was some tension. There was a bit of, oh no, they've lost another one.
A little bit, but I was kind of hoping at least once where we see that. I mean, I'm not saying I want to see like invasive surgery on the show or anything, but there were a couple of times where it's okay. We have the rebels who are ambushed by the insect village, I think is what we're going to call it. And that's when Micah and the others get chipped. It just happened so suddenly. I was like, what were these things blowing in the wind? How did he get the chip on him so quickly? I think I would have liked at least once where we saw someone come behind him and just like throw the chip at his neck or pat him on the neck and give him the chip or something.
Shoot it out of a gun.
Sure, why not?
Okay. I mean, I don't have an argument against it, so that's fine. So Catra got a lot this season. Like the episodes that deal with, like as a mental health person, you see how messed up she is. How attachment disordered she is, and how, when she feels rejected, how like she just goes into a fucking spiral. Like that was all good shit.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed what they did with Catra. Just, her trying to her again being sort of a chaotic neutral character where she's like, well, I'm stuck on this ship with this monster. Let me see if I can make myself available to him. Valuable. And that does not work out for her.
This is the moment where we finally see Catra break as far as what's held her character together for the last 4 seasons. Catra, like, you're right, she is chaotic neutral. Catra has never truly been what I would call evil. She is, as you put it with Hordak, not mustache twirling evil. Catra was held up by her pride. She wanted to prove to first season, second season, third season, she wanted to prove to Shadow Weaver, to Hordak, that she was just as good as Adora. She was the best.
Well, she was abandoned by Adora and she felt rejected, and so she needed validation. She sought that validation in being able to lead the Horde to victory.
And she wanted to prove to Adora that she could handle herself, even with Adora leaving her.
Yeah.
There's a character.
Adora made the wrong choice. See how good I am without you? You should never have left me. I'm amazing.
Yeah, she is a character who has always been held by her pride. She isn't doing bad things because she wants to be evil. She is just, in fact, we have that great scene where we see her childhood in a flashback, and she's yelling, going, I am never going to apologize. I will never say I'm sorry.
Yeah, she fights against vulnerability a lot. Like she can't show herself to be in any way vulnerable. She won't allow anyone to see weakness in her. And so she's just, self-destructive and damaging to everyone around her because she does not want them, to pierce the veil.
You kind of get this in the first season that when she shows weakness, Shadow Weaver picks up on it and admonishes her for it.
Right.
So you get the idea that she has been raised that anytime she has shown weakness, regardless of whatever reason it was countered as you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So she has always been brought up to think, if I am showing weakness, then I am going to lose. And even when she finally finally apologizes to She-Ra, and she gets accepted into the group. Even then, she is the adorable, sarcastic bitch that we all love.
Yeah, she's very sardonic. You know, she's also the one who, again, she calls bullshit on things. She's like, everyone's like, we're going to come up with this no-win scenario plan, this cockamamie fly-by-night plan. She's like, you people are nuts. She's kind of Han Solo in that respect, where he's in A New Hope. They're all going through, like, the Death Star plan. And when you think about what that mission is, like, we're sending a fleet of one-man fighters against this giant battle station. One of you has to skim a trench that there's no way out of except to either be shot at from the back or crash into the walls and maybe bullseye a target the size of a football. And Han's like, you people are nuts. Like, get me the fuck out of here. And like, again, Han was not motivated by the rebel cause. He was motivated by, he was getting paid shit tons of money to initially get him to Alderaan and then to Yavin. And, in between all that, get away from the Empire. But, like, Han had no interest in the rebellion. I don't know if Han Eddie had any interest in the rebellion through the entire trilogy of movies. He had an interest in Leia.
You kind of, as the series goes on, he becomes less motivated by the money and more, I'm doing this, it's like, I'm going to stick with my friends, and I'm going to be on their side, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to call you guys out for doing stupid shit.
Right.
And we get some great scenes with Catra. It's like, wow, how did you guys keep defeating us?
Yeah, she has a lot of really great lines.
Yeah. And I love how she keeps fighting with Bo when he keeps talking about how cute she is. Again, we get the whole thing with the ears built into the helmet, and she has that cute little sneeze, and Bo's like, it's so cute. She's like, it's not cute!
Yes.
I have a suspicion Catra not once in her life has ever been called cute.
Yeah, it's almost like emasculating in that, in that she has this, like, she's built up this hard edge to herself, and then there's Bo just stripping it away. Like, I don't see you that way. You're a little kitten. Like, no, I'm a vicious warrior. No, you're a little kitten. And she hates it. So...
Yeah. I will say, they really gave Milog the Cassandra Cain treatment, because Milog in the 80s cartoon was nothing like this magical alien creature that they've created.
I don't remember Milog in the show.
Milog was essentially made out of magic and mud to be She-Ra's equal. Mm-hmm. But then in the end, She-Ra managed to use her magic to make her totally human. And Milog said, well, I don't know if I want to join you guys or not. I kind of need to figure out who I am and figure out what I want to do. And she took off.
Okay, who is she in this show?
The alien cat.
Okay.
The alien magic cat thing that bonds to Catra and becomes her pet.
Oh, that. Yeah, the shape-shifting cat thing they found in the cave. Okay, now I remember. Total. I'm sort of going, you just really wanted to use that name, didn't you? Because that's not Milog. But I really liked how Catra behaved around this alien. I loved how they were very cute together. And it was very nice to see Catra kind of break down her barriers a bit. Obviously we weren't going to see her warm up to Adora and to the Rebels at first. So seeing her kind of take baby steps with this pet was a very, very smart decision. All right, so let's talk about this, and then we'll finally end the show. The big finale. Hordak is trying to get to the heart of Eternia. He's like hacked the planet in some way.
Sorry,
not Hordak. Horde Prime.
Sorry, I got to make sure we're talking about the same thing, or I'm going to get confused.
Horde Prime is like hacking the planet and trying to get to the heart of Eternia. She-Ra has gotten this failsafe thing that she's bonded with, and she has to go to the heart, activate the failsafe. At which point, I guess this thing is she's supposed to as She-Ra, she's supposed to absorb all of this energy, and then he won't be able to use the heart. But this becomes treacherous because now that he's hacking the planet, he's making the pathway that much more dangerous. And so it comes down to She-Ra, comes down to Adora, Shadow Weaver, and Catra. And initially Catra had fucked off and was like, the one thing I can't deal with in all of this is that given a choice between me and life and sacrificing yourself in death, you keep choosing the latter. And one could take that as an insult if one were so inclined.
Yeah, you kind of expect at first that Catra's going to run off because she's cowardly, or she's going to pull a Jaime Lannister from the Unspeakable last season of Game of Thrones and say, nope, I'm evil, I'm going back to evil. No, thank God the writers avoided that bullshit. And we simply get Catra saying, I am not going to be part of this if it means I have to sit back and watch you die.
But along the way, she ends up coming back. Shadow Weaver's there. Shadow Weaver makes the glorious sacrifice for them to go forward. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they get to the heart of this thing. There's a giant energy sort of explosion, and I guess they both feel like they're going to buy the farm at this point. So she's like, and so everything that's happened between them, every moment they've shared, every bit of friendship and animosity come to this point, and in a moment where they thought they weren't going to be alive much longer, they end up kissing.
There's also, this really was, if this was established and I just missed it, I apologize. But we see that She-Ra gets attacked by that plant thing. It's the thing that ends up killing Shadow Weaver. And she's got the green cut on her arm, on her side.
Yeah.
And as she's laying there, you see the green lines kind of creeping around her. Very similar, I think, to what we saw with the Horde Prime microchips, the way they kind of crept through the nervous system. So it wasn't said from what I can tell, but I think we're just kind of led to the assumption that She-Ra had been poisoned by the plant.
Yeah.
And I think because she was showing a lot of weakness, and we saw the green on her spreading to her arms and to her face. So I'm just going to assume that she was poisoned by that plant.
Yeah, I would assume so. So the summation reads, Adora is unable to transform, but Catra manages to reach out to her, and with the support of her love, She-Ra brings down the heart, restoring Etheria's magic, and dispels Horde Prime's soul from Hordak's body. With Etheria liberated...
Anyone else get a Vision and Ultra flashback at that scene?
Yeah. Well, that was some cool shit. When he Darth Vader's fucking Horde Prime down the shaft that sometimes had a short bottom and sometimes didn't.
Oh my God, that did confuse me after a while. I was like, okay, could I survive a fall from this or not?
Yeah. In one scene, it's a short fall. In another scene, it's into the abyss. But who cares? And then... He turns around and Horde Prime Ultron into the new body, which is great.
That is probably one of the best written twists I have ever seen. That Horde Prime knew that body was going to die, so before he hit the ground and that body died, he managed to switch, move his consciousness into Hordak.
My daughter's reaction to that was hysterical.
Good hysterical, bad hysterical.
She was like, no! She was freaking out.
Yeah, again, credit to the writers. That has got to be one of the best twists I have seen in an animated series. So, clap, clap, clap.
I wanted to read this too. The princesses work together to disable the Hive Mind and stop Horde Prime from accessing the ancient superweapon. In the end, Adora and Catra's love for each other enables She-Ra to destroy the weapon and defeat Horde Prime permanently. So that's how the synopsis reads on the main Wikipedia page. So, all right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room here. We've kind of poked at it. We've brought it up a few times, but I felt, get your opinion on the matter, I felt that all other political things aside, that the kiss between... I was shocked, but I was more shocked because it's a children's cartoon more than anything else. I was shocked when it happened, But I thought those two characters deserved that moment. I absolutely thought they deserved that kiss. What did you think?
Absolutely. It did kind of throw me for a loop a little bit. I've mentioned before on the show that I have the worst gaydar in the history of mankind. But also, we were talking about this earlier, I do not automatically ship characters. I see so often when a character has a friendship with another one, the fan fiction writers get hysterical, and I'm like, oh my god, they're friends. And while Catra and Adora, these past 4 seasons, have clearly shown that they really did care about each other that much, I personally did not really get a sense that they were romantically into each other. But again, maybe I just personally didn't pick up on those tones.
Well, here's the thing. The evolution of their relationship is they start off with gals in the army. And so there's no time for love, Dr. Jones. They're in the fucking army. They're supposed to be, like marching on Etheria. So it isn't there really isn't like time for that. And I think to the extent that either of them were interested that way, like there was no, like Catra didn't know that Adora was going to find a sword in the fucking woods and, turn traitor on the Horde. So I guess she was figuring, as long as we're together, we're fine. And then the next 3 seasons, seasons 2, 3, and 4, they're fucking bitter enemies. They're I think Adora is always doing the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader thing of trying to bring her, like she knows that at her heart Catra's a good person, and she wants her to, give up the Horde, and Catra's like, nope. I know where my bread's buttered, until it isn't anymore. So there's that. And so in the sense that they never really had a moment in the show to focus on it. And then they were about to die. So they might have gone another 100 years without ever admitting to each other that that they're into each other in that way. But I think when time ran out and they were like, well, there's no other moment to do this, I think it sort of forced the issue. And that's why I was okay with it.
Eddie agrees.
Okay. Did you see what I'm saying, though?
Totally. I'm also just going to stand by the fact that since the creators knew this was the last season, I'm willing to bet that they took off the delicacy gloves and were just like, you know what are they going to do? Cancel us?
Oh, no, totally. If you're asking me, like, from a craft perspective, I think they paid off that relationship, and the story told over 5 seasons with the perfect moment. But I also think they were like, it's like somebody in the room had to have said, we're a YA series, right? Like 7 YA. Like, people are going to be pissed. And everyone else in the room went, fuck them. Just fuck them.
I mean, hell, even getting the fact that we have part of the, one of the opening, I can't remember if it was multiple, but at least one of the animated openers, Spinnerella and Natoso go from just being on the sidelines to full-on kissing.
Yep.
So, yeah, I have a feeling that the creators are just like, screw it, let's just do what we want.
Yep. Apparently, I mean, this was nominated for a GLAAD Award, a Daytime Emmy.
It's going to get nominated for a lot more GLAAD Awards this next, well, actually, I don't know when GLAAD nominations or GLAAD Awards come out. So,
in the LGBT representation section of the wiki, in the 5th season, released May 2020, Catra and Adora's relationship concludes with a mutual love confession and an on-screen kiss. The scene has been regarded as a revolutionary moment in the history of children's media and LGBT representation. Well, can't really disagree with that.
pretty much. Now, I have seen more than a few. When you're asking me to look up articles reviewing season 5, majority of the ones that I found were actually just talking about those final moments and how they have been such a landmark for the LGBT community. And yeah, no argument there.
Okay. All right. So my ability to breathe is declining by the minute. So I've kind of said all I need to say, other than I would give this 100%. I really like the season. A few minor quibbles at the end, which we've already talked about, but overall, really strong stuff. And if my daughter hadn't watched it with me, which was a joy to do, I would have kind of sent this her way. She definitely likes a degree of anime. She likes Glitter Force and some other stuff. And I would have thought, being the little feminist that she is, I think she would have really dug this. And as it turns out, she did. Like I said, her only negative reaction was she just doesn't like kissing on screen, which, that's fine. So she was like, why does this have to happen? But she really liked the show. She really liked Mermista. There was another character that she dug pretty well, too. And she was, super satisfied when it was over, which is all you can really ask from a show. I'll give you the final word.
I mentioned this before, but this show really has some of the best character development that I have ever seen out of any show in general, not just in animation. The writing on this was really good. Admittedly, there were a couple of things in the season finale that felt a little rushed that we talked about, specifically the romance between Glimmer and Bo and a few other things. But this was still a really, really great series. I do wish that we were able to get the tie-ins to He-Man and Eternia that I had been hoping for since the beginning of the series, but I know the rights to those are currently bogged down in the hell that is the Hollywood waiting room. And I know that as much as every time we talked about this on a show, again, plug, I know that I mentioned, hopefully next season we get He-Man. Yeah, I never got my wish. This was still a really great show. The animation is beautiful. The voice acting is all top notch. I really cannot find that much to complain about aside from a few nitpicks. Hopefully this is going to be on Netflix for a while. Guys, if you haven't seen it, it's 5 seasons. I highly recommend you check it out.
Agreed. All right. I think that wraps our show for the evening. I want to thank Alexis Hejna for sitting with me for all 5 seasons of this. And you're going to get a lot more, Alexis, over the course of the next month. Next week, we've got 2 shows. We've got the Legend of the Three Caballeros right again. So we're going to do another live source material. So right back at you every Monday night. Actually, every Monday night for the next month. It's going to be me and Alexis doing comic book stuff. So we've got the
good, because I have very little else to do here in Kansas City, and I need a distraction.
So let me distract you. So I got the Three Caballeros right again next week, and then we have Legends of the Three Caballeros, another series my daughter and I are going to binge together. Very excited about that. And then June 1st, we have Catwoman When in Rome, which I've had on the schedule for 2 years now. Just keep moving it around. I really want to read this.
I need to get a library card and get connected through Hoopla so I can download that. I love when I told you, it's like, holy crap, that book's like $70. And you're like, don't buy it. I'm like, how stupid do you think I am? It's like, I love you, Mark, but I would never spend that much on a comic book.
Yeah, I was like, no, we can find that somewhere else. We've got, I'm going to convince her to do another comic strip. Jesus Christ. The Last Days of American Crime. We're going to read the book, and we're going to watch the movie, and we're going to talk about it. Right?
You already said right for me. I just assumed that I didn't have a voice in the argument.
Perfect. Moving on. We'll take a break from comics, but the following week, she'll be back anyway to do the direct-to-Disney Plus Artemis Fowl movie. Aren't you excited?
Wait, I agreed to that?
Did you? I don't know. I assumed you agreed to everything out of sheer boredom.
I never... Okay, you know what? If it's on Disney Plus, yes, I'll watch it.
You guys, everyone keeps saying, we want more Damn You Hollywood. Well, Damn You Hollywood, Artemis Fowl.
I guess, okay, you know what? I just really miss being able to review Marvel movies.
Fair enough. And then I'll have her, again, a double shot. We've got the source material, Supergirl being super, and then that Thursday, June 25th, that Tuesday, June 23rd, we will be reviewing Supergirl Season 5. So, refresh my memory. Have you watched any of Supergirl up to this point? Like any season?
Not yet. I've been trying to hold off where I can watch all of whatever required to do, not right before a show, because I'm not going to, procrastinate like certain other people on this network. But I've been having trouble. I've noticed in the past that if I start watching something for the show, and then I take a break, and then I watch something else, maybe it's pure boredom, maybe it's ADD, but they start blending together, and I start talking about the wrong crap.
Yeah, I get that.
So I've been trying really hard to time it where I can watch majority of it in the very close proximity to when we review it, so it's more fresh in my mind, and I'm not mixing it with something else.
Well, if you haven't seen any Supergirl and you're planning to binge the whole series through Season 5, which Season 5 is what we're going to be mostly talking about, but I'd be curious to see your thoughts on the evolution of the previous 4 seasons of Supergirl, so get watching.
That's actually what I was hoping to do. I'd love to talk about the evolution of the character. And then for fun, I'll start bringing up the comparisons between that and the 1980s movie. How about that for a horror show?
Well, we'll talk about the Supergirl 1984 on trial that Thursday. But then finally, to close out June, speaking of CW characters, we're going to do Batwoman Volume 1, The Many Arms of Death, and then we'll do Batwoman Season 1. Both that and Supergirl apparently just ended this past Sunday rather abruptly, along with The Flash, because of the COVID. COVID got to everything.
For those who can't wait for us to review Batwoman, there is a source material that we did a couple of months ago, I believe, on another Batwoman comic. What was it? It was Batwoman. It was something began with an E.
Yeah, Elegy, and it was was in small part the inspiration for this season of Batwoman. So, in the sense of who the villain is and all of that. So anyway, that's what we got going on. We've got the Three Caballeros Ride Again, Catwoman When in Rome, comic strip The Last Days of American Crime, Artemis Fail, Supergirl Being Super, Supergirl Season 5, Batwoman Volume 1, and Batwoman Season 1. So if you have enjoyed Alexis Hejna, and I know you do, get ready to hear a whole bunch of her over the next 6 weeks. How's that? Can't be bored now, man. I got you all set up.
Well, you really think that I'm the one that people tune in to listen to? I kind of doubt it.
Absolutely. All right. In the meantime, why don't you tell people where they can buy your stuff?
All right. Honeysuckle Rose Creations. Unfortunately, like the rest of the country, we are still on hold due to the COVID-19. At the moment, we are waiting to hear back from several conventions. Majority of the spring shows that we had planned on doing were rescheduled for June and July. Among them, one that has not given an official confirmation yet is Cape Comic-Con in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. These next few weeks are going to be really crucial. We're sitting and waiting for a final decision on whether or not a lot of these shows are going to be Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Are going to be canceled, postponed, or continue to be held. So we'll be posting updates on Facebook and Twitter as we get them. Unfortunately, right now, like so many others, we are playing this by ear and literally just waiting until we actually have something to say. In the meantime, we have been doubling up on our stuff on our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon shops. We just finished posting all of our new Scrabble tile dangle earrings. Perfect timing, too, for fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is now streaming on Netflix. Thank you, God. We have our 4 Nations earrings, which are now available on our Etsy store. I'm really proud of how these came out. I think they look good. Of course, you can always find us, like I said, on Facebook and Twitter. We are also frequent on Instagram. And as always, you can just find us at honeysucklerosecreations.com. We're in the middle of revamping our website, mostly because I am ungodly lazy when it comes to stuff like that, and I really need to get back to updating it more frequently. But, like I said, keep an eye out for us on Facebook and Twitter. We will be delivering updates as we get them on whether or not we will actually, get out of this house once in 2020. I really don't know if it's going to happen or not.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on TV Party Tonight. Be well, be safe, and have the power.
In the honor of Grayskull!